When we watch BJJ matches, the main thing we want to see are submissions, right? Imagine submissions, but in the air. Think about how awesome it feels watching a fighter suddenly leap to the air to pull off an incredible flying submission. These flying submissions are pretty much the same thing as Hail Marys, and Hail Marys are exactly what we want to see. Everyone loves flying submissions because we all love the spectacular, and they are spectacular. Since day one, so many flying submissions have been attempted. These are the best, most exciting ones ever. Enjoy. First, the flying guillotine. The flying guillotine is probably one of the easiest flying submissions to execute. It also has the highest percentage of all flying moves. The submission, in most cases, surprises your opponent because, as both of you are circling around each other looking for angles to exploit, suddenly jumping at your opponent will leave him confused, and he might be unable to react in time.
Nice, good.
Sweep it now, sweep it now.
No, you still got the submission. Put the foot on the hip. Here, put the foot on the hip.
But the guillotine is more than jumping. You need to time your leap to perfection, since you don't want to jump straight into the waiting arms of your opponent. To set up the guillotine, first you have to set up a trap for your opponent. You have to bait him to go low, so that when you fly, you land on top. The best way to do this is to threaten the low single takedown and observe his reaction. If he doesn't drop his hands, then fine, close in and take him down.
While I come this low, he's very vulnerable to a takedown. So long as I can get his hands out of the way, I'm going to be able to shoot in on him. So he can't afford that I just go so much lower than him.
But if he drops his hands, fake low one more time and jump for his neck. As you jump, use the snap down to get his head down, then place the guillotine grip while you're in the air.
My left hand and my right hand's job is going to be to stuff into this little hoop here. Boom. As soon as I get here, we're bringing our head to the other side, go Marcelo team, and we can finish right here.
As you land, you'll come down to your feet, forcing the opponent on their back. From there, you can look to finish from a top position or roll onto your back for a classic finish.
Drop in on a single. Oh, again, high elbow guillotine for Tim Spriggs. He jumps. And that's, oh, that is a horrible crank on the neck.
The flying Darce chokes. The Darce choke involves wrapping both your arms around the opponent's neck, leaving one arm inside and another one outside this hold. A common way fighters use the Darce choke is after defending an opponent's takedown attempt by sprawling. A well-timed sprawl usually leaves the opponent vulnerable, forcing them to the turtle position. After a successful sprawl, drop your chest to your opponent's back, then control him with a front headlock and move to the side. Apply the choke from the side by putting one arm across the opponent's shoulder and neck before securing the lock with your opposite arm's bicep beside your opponent's neck as you reach for the back, forcing him to lie on his side. Remember not to lie down flat on the ground when locking the Darce choke. Instead, stay on your shoulder as you lay to the side to trap his head and arm against your stomach to effectively disrupt their blood flow. The next flying submission is the flying armbar. To execute a flying armbar, you will have to rely on your anchor grip, and unlike the guillotine, you won't be jumping off the ground from a distance. First, you start by closing in on your opponent, who should either be bent forward or in a lower position. This could either be during a takedown attempt or while circling around each other.
You want your left hand to touch your belt? Yeah!
Next, using your dominant hand, secure a firm grip on your opponent's collar. Your other hand is on the tricep. Convinced that these grips are firm and your timing is right, step forward with your non-dominant foot, using it to pivot your body towards your opponent. Launch into the air as you place your dominant leg on his back, close to his neck, while your other leg goes closely over his face, and apply pressure going downwards at the top of his head. Squeeze your knees, pop your hips forward while you're holding his wrist, and make sure that his arm is the right position to apply pressure in order to get the tap.
There's that arm lock.
Oh, beautiful flying armbar attempt by Mika Galvao. Gets the arm, and he's got it.
There are many variations to finish an opponent when you get that far into the submission. As long as you respect the principles, you will get the tap. The flying scissors into the heel hook. The flying scissor requires lots of skill and timing. This happens when you are side by side with your opponent and you have the opportunity to jump and throw your legs around one of his legs in a scissor kind of an image and force him down. Once you land on the floor, the heel should be very close to your armpit. Lock your forearm underneath his heel and choose a grip that feels comfortable for you to lock your hands together. Immediately face downward and apply pressure by drawing the opponent's toes back to their glutes. This will prevent the opponent from rolling as you continue to apply pressure until he taps. The flying flower sweep. For the flower sweep, you place one arm around your opponent's neck while the other grips his arm. You then push his neck as you are going for a neck slam as a diversion. This forces your opponent to free his neck by raising it up, giving you the opportunity to quickly wrap your arm around his arm in an overhook lock before jumping into him and flipping him to the ground. For this move, ensure to have his arms tightly locked before jumping. It's a pretty cool move, not a submission, but you land into a good position, and this leaves you with anything you want to do to finish him off.
Into him. You back. There's the leg lead. Coming all the way over.
Our last flying submission for this video is the flying triangle.
Ask me if I care! Ask me if I care! I don't care if you know jiu-jitsu! Take one more step and I'll knock you out!
For the flying triangle, you are leaping off both of your feet and landing a triangle choke on your opponent. This technique is usually executed when both grapplers are standing, although it can also be executed on an opponent seated in guard position. You begin by establishing the traditional BJJ stance, which is the grip sequence you use when trying to pull into a guard. Grip your opponent's collar with your dominant hand as you grip his arm with your other hand. Next, break your opponent's posture, getting him in a position low enough for your legs to wrap around his neck.
Ooh, my fake. And now maybe I can go for an ankle pick. Grab, boom, and catch. Right, control from here. He has to gently put me down because we're in competition.
This choke isn't possible if your opponent's posture is too high. To get him in a favorable position, pull him towards the floor to get his head closer to the ground. Once this is achieved and the timing is right, jump. Your dominant leg goes on the back of his neck, not on his back. That's a rookie mistake. Pulling your opponent tightly. Your non-dominant hand holds your shin until you can replace it with your leg, creating a figure 4 lock. To finish the triangle, hold his head down, bring your knees together while holding the figure 4, and add a little rotation towards your dominant side in order to get the perfect angle. At this point, you should take note that flying submissions aren't techniques you should attempt without proper training, as you could fall back and break your neck. It should also only be attempted by really athletic grapplers. If you really want to perform these techniques because they give you an advantage over your opponent, then spend time practicing. You might need to practice for months or even years, depending on your abilities.